All right.
And we are back.
Yes, we are back once again. And for the final time on my channel, we will be doing a conversation with Kely, episode 97. 3 episodes until our 100th episode, Allie. How do you feel about that?
It's exciting, and
It is very exciting.
It's very surreal.
Yes, it is very exciting that we've already gotten to this point. But before we talk about all that, I am here with my lovely and beautiful co-host, Allie. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm just chilling and vibing and, just having a great day.
Me too. I just got some Buffalo Wild Wings from some beautiful blonde, so I'm very happy about that. We already did our Survivor podcast earlier, talking about the finale, which was amazing. But now we are here to talk about the Circle finale. Only 1 episode, so it's probably not going to be as long as our other ones. So, you don't have to watch fucking 2 hours of us just like talking nonsense. But anyway,
but it's
we are going to get that started. But before we do, we are going to introduce our guest, our guest co-host that we've loved having on all season. Yes. Here he is, Mike.
Woo!
Hello. Hi. Welcome.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, yes. All right, so getting into this finale, I've been a really big fan. We've all, I think, been a really big fan of this season. I think that this season has been full of just really great personalities, some really excellent gameplay. And going into this, like, for me, this was the first final 5 or the final end where I was like, I'm okay with whoever's winning at this point, because I feel like, and Allie, I'm sure you can attest to this since you've watched the other seasons, there's always that one person in the finale where you're like, this person cannot win. Like, that just would not be satisfying. And for me, I went into this, like, even if we got an Eversen win, I would have been okay with it. Like, I wouldn't have been upset.
Hey, like Eversen was fun. Like, I think this whole cast was likable. I think
generally, like, there wasn't a person in the finale where I was like, I don't want to see this person win. I don't think they played a good game. I don't think they'd represent the season well. Like, there was really nobody like that. So no matter what was happening, we were going to get a good winner. But this was, I think, one of the strongest winners that we've had in the Circle to date. I was very happy with the way this finale played out. I still think the best Circle finale is season 2's. I think that one was just the most satisfying. It was a really good win for Alyssa, but this came pretty close, I would say, to that finale. So we are going to get into all of that. So we start off, as we know, where we left off last week. Frank had this decision as a super secret influencer. He could choose between 2 people to bring to the finale. It was either going to be Alex or it was going to be Eversen. And he makes this decision. And Mike, this is where we get sad, ultimately chooses on blocking Nathan. And I think we all kind of expected that this is what was most likely going to happen, just because I feel like Alex's game has been on such a different trajectory from everyone else's, especially with, like, how strategic he's been, especially in the past few episodes.
I think like he just basically made the smarter decision. Like, I mean, I do think game-wise, Alex deserved it more over Eversen.
Like, I also think Alex could have won.
But, like, he was just thinking strategically.
Yeah, I think it definitely made sense for him to take Eversen over Alex, because Eversen came in a lot later. People kind of just see Eversen as like the fun guy, which is kind of what his whole game has been. He's kind of just been like fun there to just, be the life of the party. Whereas Alex has been incredibly strategic. He's been making a lot of moves. People have started to catch on to his game quite a bit. And I think if Frank had let him get any closer, Alex should be regarded as one of the best catfish to ever play this game. And I still think he is, but I think that it made sense for Frank to not let him get to the finale. But yeah, just in general, I really enjoyed what we did get to see from Alex. Of course, we see Ling and Trevor are excited to see him make the finale. Eversen, that is, while Rachel's actually pretty shocked that Eversen made it. And Alex is very upset about this, to go here right before the finale after surviving so much. And before he leaves, he's told he can meet one player face to face. And I had a feeling he was going to see Ling, based on just based on the whole storyline and things like that. I felt like it just made the most sense for him to see you, Ling, and that is what he ends up doing. And she quickly realizes that he was indeed a catfish, and he introduced himself to her, and she's absolutely mortified because she's realizing, oh my god, I just sexted some like late 20-year-old. Like so basically they talk about the flirting and how awkward it was on his end due to having a girlfriend of his own. And he says that his strategy was that he's a nice guy and wanted people to think that he was just a flirt. Yet that was far from the case. And Yuling said she had no clue until he sent that picture, but felt he was ultimately too smooth to be 22. And they both agree that despite Bru believing him, he's incredibly gullible and sweet. And which is, yeah, that's kind of Bru's biggest issue in the game, is that he was so gullible. So she confesses to not being the super influencer, and they both think that it's Frank, and he tells her that she's playing a great game and he's unsure who drew her portrait, but was doing it in an effort to frame him, and she says that it worked. And he comes to the conclusion that it was Eversen, which like I thought was really interesting the way he figured that out.
I know.
And he feels that her and Frank are the big threats to win, and he hopes that they do. And Mike, I'm going to let you talk about Alex for a bit, because I know
that's exactly where I wanted to jump in.
Yeah, main reason you watched this season was for Alex. This was where Alex unfortunately went. How did you feel about his game overall?
I expected it. Who's on a call?
No one.
Nobody.
No one.
Why did I echo?
Huh?
I don't know.
No, I expected it.
Yeah.
I feel like there were conversations that like I think Frank did clock Alex for making that drawing.
Yeah.
But to see Alex go there from a personal bias standpoint, I was very upset. I was very sad about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But from an unbiased point of view, I expected it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I do want to say, as someone who is, I to see someone who I do consider it like a friend of mine go on a reality TV show like that and technically still make the finale, I thought it was impressive. And knowing the way Alex played the mini I was in with him, I feel like the circle was actually in his wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, that's why I've been wearing a Santa hat in every Circle podcast.
Aww.
And shout out to the Christmas in July mini from almost 2 years ago, because that's where the two of us not only met, but we were in the same starting room. And I thought just to meet someone as awesome as Briz has been incredible, and to see this experience happen for a friend of mine was just really cool.
Oh yeah.
And from like a player standpoint, if there were a player of the season, I would hands down give it to Alex.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the other 3 seasons, but just based on commentary, Alex went in there with a strategy unlike no other, from what I've heard.
Oh yeah. I have not seen many Circle players like Alex. I will definitely say that.
Alex went in there. Alex did the damn thing. Alex had a strategy, and to watch all that strategic gameplay unfold from someone I've known as one of the greatest villains in the Sequester mini community. Sorry to bring that up. For anyone who for that to be like if that's a sore topic for anybody, I apologize. But just knowing how good of a player in minis Alex was, to be able to watch that unfold from an audience standpoint was just surreal.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Because honestly, confession time, I know Alex played other minis. I did not watch much of them.
I think it was just really cool getting to see Alex play this game, especially someone that we knew personally, someone who's played minis and orgs and things like that. To see him get that opportunity and to actually see him do well. This is the first time I've seen someone that's played like a mini or an org and actually ends up doing pretty well. Because Jack fucking fumbled the ball so hard. It
was just so it was so cool and surreal to see.
I plan on watching those other seasons, and I can't wait to see that happen.
Yeah, see, he starts off really strong, and then one thing happens, and his game just goes downhill from there, and he like never recovers.
Also, I got 6th place in like a circle mini myself, so we're placement twins right now. So
the best way I'll describe Alex, and I think this is a weird comparison at first. Alex is last season's cast if they were likable. That's Alex. I feel like the way that cast played is very similar to how Alex played, except he was likable. That's the biggest difference.
So I just watched Alex's Instagram story. He actually just did a Q&A.
Yeah.
Wow. So he mentioned that during the flirting scene, Nikki laughed her ass off at it because of how.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Because of how bad it was. But like, I think it's pretty obvious by now. Like, if those who don't know, Nikki's also an Orger.
Yes.
So Nikki like gave Alex full permission to do whatever it takes because you're going in there for $150,000. I don't blame you.
Like, yeah, he's just trying to win a game.
He did what he needed to do, and I hope we see Nikki in the future, and maybe the real Nathan. That'd be cool.
Maybe.
I would love to see the real Nathan, aka Max.
Yes.
For those who don't know, Alex also like mentioned that as well.
Yeah. Which
but
talks about a little bit later.
No, I actually reached out to him as I was watching the episode and said, "Hey, man, you played phenomenally, and I'm so proud of you, my guy." So,
for sure.
Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Nikki.
Yes.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes. Definitely.
Alex got a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, still one of the best players the circle has had from at least from my standpoint. But I'm a little biased.
He's definitely one of the best of the season, I'd say. I'd probably still put Alyssa at number 1. I think
Alyssa and Alex are definitely like the best strategies.
I'd still put Alyssa at number 1. I think her like strategy was kind of like with all the notes and things like that was kind of unmatched. And then
Alex did the same thing, but he had the board.
I just think Alyssa's was a little bit more impressive, especially social game wise. And then I'd probably put you Ling, and then Frank, and then Alex. That's probably what I do.
I think I personally put Alex at 1 because of how chaotic it was. I like that kind of arc.
Oh yeah.
I think we should do our final rankings like at like the end of this recap.
That'd be cool. Yeah. I'm down for that.
Actually,
cool.
I am proud. Yes. Alex did the damn thing. Unfortunately, came up short, like we said, and on behalf of the 7-4 representation on this podcast, we'd love to see it.
We do love to see it, but we love to see moving on because we have other stuff to talk about.
But Alex is amazing, and he deserves the world.
Yeah. I will say, I just saw on his story as well, he tried to model Delisa's game, and I don't know Delisa that well.
So Delisa, I still think is the best catfish to ever play the circle. I just don't think what she did is ever going to be replicated.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of jumping ahead briefly, but I really enjoyed seeing Alex's reaction to meeting the real Trevor.
Oh yeah,
I know.
That was cool.
That was so
because
good.
you could tell Alex is a huge fan of the circle.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a big reality TV like super fan.
Yeah,
and we love that. We really do.
Yeah. We do.
But let's continue.
Yes, we have to move on eventually.
All right.
Do we?
Yes.
The final 5 then wake up to an alert from Michelle, and she tells them how proud they should be of themselves and explains how the finale is going to work. And that before the final rating, they are each given a picnic basket filled with fresh fruit and mimosas with balloons.
Which I'm sure Frank especially really enjoyed because of how much he talks about like mimosas.
He loves mimosas.
It was great.
He was like over the moon there.
He was really excited. Everyone seemed really excited.
Yeah. It was sweet and wholesome.
Yeah.
They then see the newsfeed has been updated for one last time, and they see messages from both Brew and Alex.
Yes.
For Brews, he talks about how proud he is because he stayed true to himself, 100% raw and authentic, and he wanted to come in and prove nice guys can finish first, but that wasn't the case, and it hurts to be blocked, but he's excited to party with everyone else.
Very general with Brew.
Sounds about Brew.
It
Very
pretty much
straight.
sums up his game. It's like nice guy, but like not much there.
Yeah, he's just kind of like there, but he's like, yeah, he's nice, but
I've seen so many people be like, oh my god, we love Brew, and like, yeah, it's really nice to see someone like Brew who's just generally a really nice guy, but like he did not play the game well. Like
No,
straight
he
up, did
didn't.
not play the game well.
Mm-mm.
Really seems like a very nice guy. You know, I'm sure his radio show is fantastic and whatnot, but he just did not play a great game. And I think even Bruno knows he didn't play a great game.
Yeah. For Alex's, he reveals to them who he actually is, and that coming into the game, he thought the big threats would be getting blocked, and he wanted to dumb down his profile and be a party dude who was here for good times and chicks, but it wasn't enough to get him to the finale. And he wishes them all the best of luck in the finale.
And everyone's
this will never make me laugh.
I know.
Yeah.
Nothing to me is funnier than watching Alex try to be a bro.
I know.
Funny.
Or a jock, rather.
He almost pulled it off for a while.
That was good.
So do you guys, honest question, do you guys think, let's say Frank does block Eversen here, or there, because we're past it.
Yeah.
How old do you guys think Alex/Nathan would fare in the rankings? I don't know about that.
I think he'd probably be like third or fourth. That's where I assume he'd be. I don't think he'd win, but I think
I can see him being like 4.
I would say third or fourth.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll get into it, but I was actually kind of surprised at how the rankings went.
Oh yeah, especially some of them.
The final.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone seems shocked to find out he is a catfish, except for Trevor.
Yes.
And they talk in the circle.
Which I thought was interesting. Like, Trevor's the only one who, like, figured it out. And I love the moment where Trevor's like, knew it from the beginning.
They talk in the circle chat and about how happy they are to have made Final 5, but also express concern for Ling with how embarrassed he must be over Nathan not being real.
It's so funny. Like, just
that was hilarious.
The way Ling reacted to it was so good.
She's like so embarrassed.
Yeah.
That was so funny. They are then told to make their final ratings of the season.
And we then get like a little like we get a little segment like kind of showing everyone's game and how everyone's like feeling about it.
Yeah, I like this part, honestly.
Yeah, this was good. They do it every season, but like I didn't have care about writing it down other seasons because there's someone in the game that did nothing, and that wasn't the case this time, so I just wrote it down.
Yeah, same. With Ling, everyone feels she has been a very strong player across the board and could also be the wild card of the game. With Rachel, they love how calm and chill she is, but also how straight up she's been, despite it maybe rubbing some people the wrong way.
I will definitely get into that. I think that's probably like why, not to spoil, but what ends up happening with Rachel happens.
Yeah.
Some people just didn't like how straight up she was.
Yeah. Some people just preferred her to be like more low key.
Yeah, which is fair. Not going to work for everyone.
Streaming on Disney Plus, am I right?
Some people just thought they liked her being more chill.
Yeah. Be more. That is a great musical. Be more chill.
Fuck you! I said it first. I've never. What the hell was that?
Mike,
hold on. What was that?
It was a laugh. Mike, go to the bathroom, like the song.
That's a closet.
Go to the bathroom.
Michael in the bathroom. That's
Michael in the closet.
That's the song.
Yep.
That's a closet. It's the follow.
Anyway, we're gonna stop bad fucking musical theater puns and move on.
With Frank, everyone feels he is incredibly...
Come on.
Yeah, let's go.
Girl. Come on, girl.
With Frank, everyone feels he is incredibly likable and has a real hold on the game with how much he has brought himself, which is true.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been Frank's entire game, is that he was just kind of like authentically himself the entire time throughout.
With Eversen, everyone agrees his energy is infectious and has an amazing personality, but some are unsure how he feels about them.
Yeah, I mean, that was always going to be Eversen's problem.
Yeah. With Imani, everyone feels she is a strong person and clearly has made great connections, but feels she may not be here long enough to rate her high.
And that's the sad thing, is that I do think if Trevor was in the game, like, from the get-go, I think he would have made it, like, I think he would have honestly, like, potentially won because of how good he was as a catfish.
Oh, yeah. He was, like, oh, my God.
Like, he was as good as, he was honestly, like, on the same level as Delisa at points.
Like, Delisa probably gave him tips.
Well, he says later on that, like, she didn't really give him tips. He just kind of, like, followed her around.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And time for the ratings. Frank rates Ling at 1, Rachel at 2.
Which some of these are speculation. We don't know that he rated Rachel Ling at 1, but just based on the ratings, it seems like that's what he did.
Yeah. Rachel with Frank at 1 and Imani at 2.
Again, we don't hear her say specifically that she rated Frank at 1, but, like, I feel like it was pretty obvious that she did.
Yeah, I think so too. And then Trevor with Rachel at 3.
Yep.
Eversen with Frank at 3. And then Ling with Eversen at 4.
I thought they did a pretty good job in, like, not really trying to reveal, like, their individual ratings at first to, like, really, like, keep up the suspense. Because I feel like other seasons, they made it super obvious, like, what was going to happen, like, based on the ratings. And I don't think they did that this time around. So I think they did a better job with that. So it's now time for everyone to get ready for, I think, what's always our favorite part of the finale, the face-to-face meetups. These are always so much fun, and I think we got some really good ones, I think, this season. So the way we're gonna do it is how we usually do it. I'm gonna talk about one, then Allie's gonna talk about the next one, then I'll talk about one, then Allie talk. You get it. So
I'm so ready for my job here.
The first person to walk out is Ling. She's told Frank is on the way to meet her now. They both run to each other and are so proud of how much they both killed this season and weren't even trying to. They were just really good at the game. And Frank talks about how when the four of them first came in, he felt that she was pulling back a bit and he wasn't sure if it was strategy, but eventually she opened up. And they're anxious to find out who is real. And yeah, I mean, I literally forgot, like, the first few weeks of this game, I remember we were saying, like, Ling is, like, too shy. She needs to be, like, more social and things like that. She changed that up real quick. So I do feel like that was partially, like, her strategy. It was, like, trying to be, like, kind of, like, low-key and subdued at first. But then
she did so good.
Like, social presence. And that's exactly what she did. And I think it worked for her. So, yeah.
And then Rachel's the next to meet them. They're a little surprised her hair isn't pink, but are happy.
I forgot about that. I forgot her profile, like, had pink hair.
I know. But are happy they all ran the game together, and Frank feels they did it just by making connections and getting there.
Yeah.
He says he felt them the most after the antivirus twist and had to do the moment saving her as a way to test Ling to see if she was actually genuine, which solidified their alliance. And then
I mean, these three literally did run the end game. Like,
they did.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah. She says her only regret was saving Nathan over Alyssa just because she hadn't had a private conversation with her, whereas Nathan she bonded with over them being move-in buddies.
Yeah. So this was a really good meetup, I think, with the three of them. Nothing crazy to say because
they're honestly just a very pure trio.
I will say the one thing that's unique about this finale is that this is the first finale in which there's not as many catfishes. Usually it's like most of the catfishes make it to the end. This time around it was only Trevor, which I think was interesting. So it made for a different kind of finale in terms of the face-to-face meetups. There wasn't a ton to reveal because most people were who they say they were. But then we get the one that I think everyone was most excited for. Trevor's the next, and everyone is shocked to see who Imani actually was. He introduced himself and brings up that he couldn't come in as himself because of being the husband of Delisa, and everyone freaks out over who he actually is, and he's surprised none of them suspected it and says everything he is as a man, he is because of a woman, and he's got so much respect when he needs a strong woman because that's how he got here. They all applaud how he played, but are not shocked because of how well Delisa played, and he brings up how Imani is actually a friend of his wife's, and he brings up how he did Nathan's portrait, and based on what he said in the Toga chat with him saying he's the thinker, this is what really increases suspicions. And I completely overlooked this, but yeah, in the Toga chat, Alex brought up how, like, you know, his fate, like, Trevor asked, like, what's your favorite portrait? And Alex said that it was The Thinker.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That'd be a very strange thing for like a 22-year-old to say. So like, that from there you could see that Trevor really clocked him. And again, I'm very impressed by the game that Trevor played. I think the fact that he was able to make it far as he did, especially so late in the game, and like quickly, gather all these connections, and no one really suspecting that he was a catfish. I think it's just really impressive, and I think he really killed it here.
Oh yeah, he was like incredible there.
Yeah.
And also like Alyssa and Trevor are that couple.
Oh, they really are. They really are. Like, they're gonna be known as like the circle couple, like forever and ever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
As they should be.
Yes.
Well, who the fuck else would it be? Nathan and you, Ling? Like, come on.
At the moment, I think they are the actual like only circle couple, because I don't think there's been any others.
There's only been 4 seasons, so I mean, yeah.
There's been like flirt.
Nikki for season 5.
Yes, please.
Eversen is the last to meet all of them, and he is his usual positive self. He was a bit of a delayed reaction to Trevor
I thought Trevor was last.
No.
He was a bit of a delayed reaction.
My bad. No. You're right. This was the preview. This is the finale preview.
Yeah. He has a bit of a delayed reaction to Trevor being who he is, and then realizes through Frank that he's the husband of Alyssa. Yes. He talks about how quickly Eversen wanted to flirt, and he knew he had to try to match his energy, and making it believable enough for him was the biggest challenge.
And I loved his like delayed reaction. Like, at first he was in there and he just like he hugged Trevor and he like gave him a handshake, and it was like, wait, you were Amani. Like, it like took him a second to like fully recognize it. Like, that was so great. I think that was like
it was iconic.
That was definitely one of the highlights of the finale for me. Was like just Eversen's like reaction to it, how delayed it was. It was perfect.
I loved it. Frank then reveals to them he was the super secret influencer, and he talks about how hard it was because of the conversation Alex had with him prior, but ultimately felt it was too late to trust him, and he ultimately felt his bond with the rest of them was stronger. And they all talk about how strong they are and will continue to be after they exit the circle.
Yeah, I mean, this to me feels like the closest cast. I feel like these guys are going to be like, they're going to be like hanging out, at like bars and coffee shops and things like that. They're going to be like going to each other's houses when it's like their birthdays and whatnot. Like, I see this cast hanging out for a long time. Oh yeah,
I think they'll all just be like best friends.
I think so.
I just wish Jared could have been there.
I know.
Yeah, that is the one flaw I have with this finale, is that there's very little mention of the Spice Girls, and I understand that they were only in a few episodes, but their impact was so big. Like, I feel like they could have at least done like a video message with them or something like that, because I literally forgot, like, Parker's only receiving this information now. Like, she didn't know until after she had left. So it's like, I wish that they would have I wish that they would have included them in some capacity, but they really don't.
Yeah, like, I wish, like,
yeah.
I mean, they could have just been really busy and couldn't, but like,
yeah,
I wish they did at least have a finale or just do a message.
Yeah. So all the block players then do meet each other, many of them for the first time. It's also revealed that Nathan is Alex's brother's roommate in this moment, which I thought was pretty fun. Michelle then comes out and interviews all of them, and she starts with Parker, who literally, like, I forgot about because it was so long ago. And she agrees how bad she did, and that she had a real gut feeling that Carol was a catfish, and then saw John. And they talk about how there could be a family dinner happening soon. I do see these two getting together at some point. They get very close at the end of the finale, so I could definitely potentially see that.
Like John and Parker, because they're like close in age and everything. I definitely see it.
Oh yeah. So she also took the opportunity to reveal to Parker that Jared was actually the Spice Girls, and as a result, the prize money has been increased. And again, this just felt so unceremonious to me. Like, just bring the Spice Girls back, give us that reveal. Like, it would have been so much better. And I wish that they could have at least had like some kind of like a video message or something. I just think it would have been a little bit more eventful. I don't know. I just felt like the questions part here was just very rushed. It felt like they were kind of like anxious to get to the finale, and I know they had a lot to do, but like they could have just made it maybe like a little bit longer. That's the thing. There's no reason to rush it out. It's on Netflix. Like, I don't really see, like, I would have been fine with like an hour and like 10-minute finale. Like, I don't really see the big deal. So I just felt the questions was a little bit more rushed this time around than it usually is. So it wasn't as exciting to watch.
It's still a great finale, but yeah.
It was. That was something that I definitely noticed. So Chris is unsure where the game shifted for her, and Michelle feels that it was the moment that she was voted as the player to win, which I like that Michelle was the one who let her know, yeah, this is where it went wrong for you.
Yeah.
And Alyssa said that she ultimately blocked her because she felt she would play her card so close to her chest, so she would never really get anything from her. And Alyssa then takes the opportunity to talk about just how many notes that she ended up taking within the game. And John then talks about how tough it was playing his mom, especially the sex tips with Alyssa. Just again, one of the highlights of the season. Just
so funny
moment, the way all of that played out. Alex talks about how he was too focused on the strategy that he didn't make as strong of a connection with other players, and he kept trying to break into the trio with Ling, Frank, and Rachel, and he was lying about everything, which is what hindered him. I would say that's about right. I think that's definitely what hurt Alex. He was very focused on the strategy, didn't put as much effort into the social stuff, and I think he could have done a better job with that. So they all then freak out, realizing who Trevor is, and this is when everybody else comes out. Michelle then talks to Trevor and asks for his true motivation, and he said that he felt that it would be incredible for both of them to be on the show, and he just followed Alyssa around, and that he had fun flirting with Eversen and playing a woman. Again, I just think
that
Trevor
was so funny.
That was.
Yeah, Trevor was just a lot of fun to watch. I really enjoyed.
I love him.
What he did this season. And Ling then talks about why she flipped on her alliance, and I like this a lot because I've been kind of I've been a big fan, like I said, of this move. I think this is something that Ling needed to do. She did it at the right time, and I think she explained it perfectly, where she felt the inner trust circle was consisting of the two people that she knew she could trust, and she knew everyone hated her, but she tried to repair as honestly as she could. And Alyssa admits how mad that she was, but didn't consider how many alliances that she had, and it wasn't always going to be her. And she talks about how much she terrified Alex, and Eversen fesses up to drawing the portrait, especially with how on point all of her messages were. But with Nathan, she was super spot on the entire time, which again, I think this is definitely an underrated thing from Eversen. I just think that, again, because Eversen was such a late addition, he wasn't able to really do too much with it. But it did show that Eversen had this more strategic side. That
he definitely had that fire in him later, but he was just more the social fun guy.
He just didn't really employ it all that much into his game. So he had good reads, though. He did.
He did, yeah.
Alex then revealed that he used Frank, which he did to create a ton of doubts, which it did. And Michelle then talks to Frank about how he went in with positivity, and he says he tries to be that way 90% of the time, and he always loves when people say that he loves his energy, and specifically Brew calling him a ray of sunshine with him knowing how emotionally vulnerable he is meant a lot, because it means he can connect with people outside of how he looks or acts. And this is what we talk about when we talk about diverse casts. You want POCs and black players and things like that. You want them to be able to play on a cast that is going to let them play the game, and that's what this cast did. They let Frank play the game. Frank was himself the entire time, and it was just really refreshing to see.
This whole season was just everyone got along, and there was nothing problematic or anything.
Yeah, it was just really. I think it's honestly what we needed after season 3, because season 3 was pretty rough.
Yeah, that one was rough.
Yeah, a lot of microaggressions.
I will say also, the majority of this finale are POCs.
Yes, we love that as well.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, 4 of the 5.
That's the majority.
Yeah, majority.
Yeah.
Yeah, if only we had that somewhere else now, didn't we?
Yeah.
4 of the 5.
Yeah.
Or just majority in general.
So,
anyway.
Rachel at first talks about how she didn't do anything strategic, and Michelle reminds her of her roast on Carol, and that she felt the Mom and Carol thing was branding, and she wasn't shocked to see John. Again, I love Michelle calling her out for this. Rachel was like, "Oh, I didn't do anything crazy," and she's like, "No, you did." Michelle is just a fan of the show, as much as we are, and I just really love that. I think she gets better and better every season.
That's what I personally think is the best part of the best kind of host.
Oh yeah.
I think she's an incredible host. I think
she gets better every season.
Yeah, she's just so funny.
Yeah. So they're all happy to become finalists, and it's now time to reveal the final rankings. And Ali is going to reveal those rankings.
All right.
I want to do something.
Number five is Eversen, which is pretty obvious.
Yeah, this didn't come to a shock to me at all.
No.
Number 4 was Rachel, which
This one surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
I thought she'd be like 3.
Same.
I was thinking 2.
2 or
possibly.
3, yeah.
But the second we saw that, it was like, I guess Casey was wrong.
Yeah, I know. Casey was so adamant about that.
Yeah. And
Like,
I believed her. I did, because she, like I said, predicted Kevin for like BB Can like forever ago, and she was right about that. So I thought she'd be right about this, and I guess that wasn't the case.
Oh yeah.
Different game, but yeah.
Number 3 was Ling.
This one also surprised me.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be Frank and Ling in the final too. I thought that was
Me too.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to Frank and Trevor.
Which I was like, oh my god, are we about to get a Trevor win? Is that
Right?
what's gonna happen here?
No.
Like, are we gonna have like the Lisa and Trevor win?
That would have been so good, but
Right.
what happens is just as good.
Oh hell yeah.
And
the winner is Frank.
Yes. Which
as soon as Ling got second, this is the outcome I wanted.
Aww.
Yeah, same. I was very happy to see Frank win. I think literally from the beginning, we said like Frank has this winner edit. Frank could potentially win the game, and that's exactly what happened. And I think what I really admire about Frank's win is that this isn't someone who like played this like super strategic game. He wasn't like, someone who was, constantly playing people and things like that. He just was himself. He was himself the entire time. He didn't care about the strategy aspect. He cared about making the connections. He cared about getting to share personal stories because that mattered more to him than strategic moves in the game. And I admire that. I think that's super refreshing. I've heard some people say that they found this season boring because there wasn't as much strategy. But I like the fact that this cast was just as like personal as I like that this cast was just as like, fun and like willing to talk about like personal things as they were strategic. I like that we had that nice balance. And I think
they weren't game body. They were just like, they were strategic, but they also like
those and I think players like Frank balance that out perfectly because while you have people like Alyssa, like Nathan, like Ling even who are like playing really hard, like strategically, you have people like Frank who are like, well, yeah, this person wronged me, but I like this person. I want to try to work something out with them. Like, I think that was really good for Frank. And I think that's why like he got this win. It's something you don't normally see. I feel like in games like this, like most of the time people are like, you can't play like this, like this one benefit, this isn't
why not?
And this time it did. And I think it's really just a really great win all around for Frank.
Frank winning, like he just had like the winner edits since day one.
I agree.
Like he was just social, like he's likable and like everyone just felt good with him and he was like always influencer and he was incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Frank is overjoyed to have won because of how much he tried to be me and fight through everything he's been through.
And he didn't try to be you. I meant to, but he tried to be him.
He tried to be him and fight
tried to be like Allie.
Frank is overjoyed to have won because of how much he tried to be himself and fight through everything he's been through, and he finally did it, which was just very sweet.
Yeah, especially knowing how much Frank has been through. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I don't know how you have someone like Frank who's been through so much and yet still like wears his heart in his sleeve, is so positive. Like that just kind of shows the person that Frank is, and that's why like I admire this one as much as I do.
I adore him. Oh, yeah. I want to like hang out with him and have mimosas.
Yes.
Sunday brunch.
I think Casey said that last night, actually.
Frank, if you're seeing this,
go hang out with Allie.
Hit us up. I don't know why you want to do that, but
because Allie's an amazing person to hang out with.
Just whatever you do, don't spill our fucking drink.
Now that's on you. Actually, no, I started that shit. That was not you. I started that.
Actually, no, you technically spilled your own.
Yeah, that's true. I did. I knocked over the tray table and then the drink fell, and then
it was just really funny.
It turned into a recurring thing.
I picked up a glass that was too heavy. That was heavier than I thought it would be, and dropped it.
This is funny.
All right. John and Parker flirt a bit at the end about how Paul will hopefully approve, which
That was really funny, the way that
was.
played out.
I mean, I'm here for them.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
both seem really sweet and chill people.
They do. It definitely underscored the fact that I'd like to see Parker come back at some point and play as herself. I think she just do a lot better. I think,
like, she's
and
not,
I think,
yeah, like we were both iffy with her at the start, but she's actually like a really nice person.
yeah, she really is. And like, I think my perception of her in the game would be a lot different if she had played as herself.
Yeah. She's just like a nice young girl.
Yeah.
Ling talks to Brew about the ice cream flavor she made for him.
Yes.
Frank talks about how he said years ago that the circle needs him and he needs to go on and show himself, and he has.
And I always love when they like call people at the end.
Same.
It's always like really sweet to watch.
Oh, it's so wholesome. He makes a call to his best friend and they talk about how life is finally going up for him.
Again, just such a satisfying end for Frank, someone who's been so much, like, get that victory. It's just,
yes,
you just feel so happy for him.
Yeah. And then the end is showing a message being yourself is sometimes the best tactic to win the circle.
Yeah. And I mean, I like I said, I think having someone like Frank win the game really sums up this season, which was just in general, just such an utter joy to watch. I think they just did such an excellent job with having players that played hard, but also having such a likable cast, the slower pacing of things like that, the different challenges, the different games that they did, the different twists that they incorporated. I think everything just made for a really great season of television because it was very unpredictable to see where it was going to go. There were a lot of things I think we expected to happen that didn't happen, and I think the season was better because of it.
Oh, yeah. I thought this season was just incredible. It had strategy. It had social.
Yes.
It had personality. And, like, it was just fun. And, like, all the comps were wonderful, too. Like, they all had something to do with strategy and not just, like, completely random. And this season is just wonderful. And I definitely give it an A+.
Yeah, I would as well. I think this season is pretty much everything that I could have wanted in the circle. I think that they did such a great job when it came to the cast. And like I said last night, I feel like they finally figured out what makes this show work as well as it does. And I think moving forward, they have big fucking shoes to fill in season 5. But if they can continue this up, this game will be better than it's ever been, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. I mean, they have a lot to live up to, but I am very excited for the next season.
Give us more casts like this. That are just likable and fun to watch. You don't need these like super game body players. Like sometimes you can just have players that are just there to have some fun. And I think it works just as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so Mike, I know you said you wanted to do like a rankings of sorts.
All right, it's game time, everybody.
Oh no.
All right, so we're going to take a minute.
Yes.
All three of us. We're going to take a minute. We're going to come up with our final rankings of everybody on the season.
All right.
Okay.
And just going to say
so are we including Mel B and Emma?
Sure.
Okay.
Make it an even number.
Because they weren't, the only reason I asked is because they weren't actually like real players, so.
They were real to me.
I mean, same.
No way. I'm making my rankings right now.
Let me see. I'll do mine as well. Like, is it personal or game-wise?
It just
whatever you want it to be. A little bit of both.
All right.
Well, it's played. It's
11 altogether, right?
12.
Well, if we're including Mel and Emma.
Who am I forgetting?
Ooh,
Bless you.
thank you.
Oh, I'm forgetting somebody too.
Yeah, I'm also forgetting someone, and I can't figure it out.
Oh, Crissa.
Oh,
Oh yeah, Crissa.
Crissa.
Oh, how did I forget him?
Who?
Oh,
I almost forgot John.
Oh.
I didn't. All right, I am done.
Okay. Who would
So
like to
how
go
do we
first?
want to reveal these? Do you want to go 1 through 12 or 12 to 1?
I always do bottom. I always do from
Yeah.
like, bottom.
We're
to
going
top.
from bottom to top. Okay.
Who am I missing?
I think it's more exciting that way. So,
Hang on. I only have to do 2 more here. Okay. I think I got it.
all right. Who would like to go first?
For number 12, I think as the guest, I will go first.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
I feel like we're all going to agree on this. So for number 12, circle, reveal my 12th ranking.
Oh shit! I have the screen share.
No, don't worry about it. It was a bit.
Oh no, I have it. I literally have it.
Okay, so number 12 for me, it's nothing super personal. I don't really hate anybody on this cast.
Yeah, no.
But due to the lack of time we had with this person for number 12, I put Paul/Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Don't do, this is a lot of. Oh, look, it's me.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Trying to get both. All right, it's fine. Talk about Parker.
Why is my lightsaber photo down there?
I don't know. Oh, it's because of the thumbnail.
I don't know.
Okay, who do you have at 11?
Oh, I thought we were just going to do all our 12s first.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I also have Parker at 12. Allie, who do you have at 12? Parker?
I also put Paul, a.k.a. Parker. Just
Yeah.
because
I think we all pretty much said all we needed to about her. I think she should have played as herself. She came in.
Would have done better as herself, and also
yeah.
she doesn't really know a lot about being her dad.
Yeah, doesn't know much about her dad. Didn't really do a great job with finding out anything interesting about him, that she could have taken away and put into the game. So just came across as very boring. But I think after she was revealed, after she got out of the game, I think that it showed that she would have done a lot better as herself. And yeah, she's clearly, I think, the best player this season.
I really like her, outside the game.
Yeah. I understand initially why she didn't, but I think her reasoning, I don't think it was as big as a deal as she thought it was. I think if she would have come in, she would have done fine.
Yeah.
So
I think so too.
Parker's at 12. All right. Mike, who's your number 11? Circle message.
All right, circle. I didn't connect with this person as much as I thought I would. I don't know if this would come as a surprise, but I didn't think they played that good of a game. I didn't think I connected with them as much as I wanted to. So, circle, reveal my number 11 ranking.
I don't know who it is.
My number 11 ranking is... I put Carol/John.
Okay.
Okay.
He looks like Victor.
Yeah, especially.
He does.
So
I've been saying this. He looks like Victor.
Mine's actually quite different for 11. This was a player that I was holding out hope for. Holding out hope that this person would be able to make it far into the game. And it just, he did, but I don't think he played that great of a game. I actually have Brew at 11.
Hey, same.
All right, so let's talk about Brew a bit. I think Brew
I did not think you were going to say Brew.
Yeah, I have Brew at 11 solely because I just don't think he did much like socially, strategically. I think that Brew seems like a really nice guy, but he relied way too much on his emotions. He did not take advantage of the connections that he needed to. He absolutely needed to utilize his connection with Alyssa. If he had done that, he had gone way farther in the game, but he did not. He wanted to be a fucking mama's boy to Carol. That's what he said he wanted to do. And because of that, he ended up coming up a lot shorter than I think he would have. I think that, yeah, he got far in the game, but I think it's mainly because people just really liked him. I don't think he did a lot to really get himself that far. So I would put Brew at 11. Let's talk about John.
I put him at 11 as well, just because, like, I did
John or Brew.
I like Brew as a person. I like Brew as a person, but like, just game wise, he was just not that good. Like, as a strategist, he just needs to like read more, maybe do notes, like just like really learn the game more, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But like, great person, but like he really he messed up there, getting rid of Alyssa, because like that was better longevity for him.
Yeah. And then with John, I guess we'll talk about John a bit because I know, Mike, you have him at 11. John was someone I was very impressed with at first. I thought the first week of the game, I literally said John's going to be one of the best like catfish to play this game. And then I feel like he was in a position where he had a path, and then he just completely like dismantled it. I think the second that Crissa turned on him, he suddenly didn't want to work with any of the girls. He suddenly wanted to change his entire like game plan, and it just I don't think anything that he did after that really benefited him. I think that he became the social pariah because he put himself in that position, and I think that overall he just was not as good in the game as I thought he would be. I thought he was going to be really good. I really enjoyed his personality early on, but at the end, he became honestly kind of irrelevant.
Wait, did you make him number 10?
No, he's a little bit higher for me, but I figured we'd talk about him since he's Mike's 11.
You know what? Speaking of 10, let's go into 10. Put the other guy back.
All right. Oh, Brew.
Circle revealed my number 10 ranking. I put Brew.
Is there anything you want to say about Brew that we didn't?
That we don't talk about Brew. No. I enjoyed Brew a lot, actually. I thought he was cool. I like his personality.
Oh, yeah.
I think he played the game as his authentic self. For me, personally, I kind of just liked everyone else a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I don't fault him for saving Carol over Alyssa, because I do feel like I do see Alyssa as somebody who is like, if you don't take that shot, when do you get that shot again?
Yeah.
When does the opportunity come again? Because like Alyssa's not going to be taken out by anybody else, I don't think. I think that was the perfect opportunity to make a move, and Brew didn't see it that way, clearly.
And I will continue disagreeing with you over that.
But that's my take on Brew. Let's get into everyone else's number 10s.
All right. Let's go to my number 10 in the game. Is someone that I really, really was hoping would go farther. I was liking this person very early on, but it just didn't work out. I actually have Crissa at 10. Here's the thing.
I just realized you literally put the same bottom as me.
Oh wow. I wonder if we have the same list. That'd be funny.
That would be funny.
So yeah, Crissa's a 10. I really liked Crissa in the game. I think that she was someone that could have gone really far. I think just the thing with Crissa is that, again, I think she was playing. I think that she was someone that just didn't really recognize like the social capital that she had. I don't think she did enough with it. And I think she ended up coming up short because of it. I think that she should have taken a bit more opportunity to talk to some people. I think that she was very good with Frank, but it just didn't really, and Ling, but it didn't really seem like she talked as much to anyone else. That's why Alyssa ended up blocking her. And I think that, if she if she had put more effort into everyone else besides those three, I think that she would have gotten farther. So for me, that's why Crissa is at 10. Allie, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just think, like, I put her at 10. Like, I really like her as a person. She's very nice. But, like, I don't know. I just don't think I don't know. I don't think she was, like, really that in. She doesn't really know the game that much.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like she was just kind of there. She was just the nice girl.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, she was just kind of the nice girl that, like, didn't do a lot. She was just, like, friends with everyone kind of thing. And
yeah,
she was just kind of there, you know? Like, love her as a person. But, like, when she left, she was kind of, like, an easy boot.
I agree. All right, Mike, who do you have at 9?
Don't 9. Wait.
Yeah, we're at 9.
Oh, I skipped somebody.
You had Parker, John, Brew.
I was about to say don't go too far yet, but I read the wrong number.
Yeah.
My number 9. Okay. My number 9 is somebody who actually made the final.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really getting really spicy for me. My thing with this person is I don't think we had enough of time to get to know that person. Try to see who you're trying to highlight here.
Oh, if it's who I think it is, I don't have a picture of this person, so I can't.
I don't see a picture of this person, so
yeah.
To get back on track, yeah, no. I think I really like this person a lot, but I do wish we got more time to get to know them. So without further ado, Circle reveal number 9, Eversen.
Circle cannot do that because Circle does not have said picture of Eversen.
And as mentioned before, as soon as the finale was like, the final rankings were revealed, I did expect Eversen to get 5th.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious what was going to happen.
It was.
There. I'll let you speak on Eversen a little bit because I have John at 9. Allie, where do you?
Oh my God, so do I.
What the fuck?
This is so
you did
funny.
that on purpose.
I promise this was not intentional.
No,
I literally
it
made my
wasn't.
own list.
So did I. I just put my list like on my I opened up Twitter and I just did it like I was
made
going
a
to post
Google
a tweet.
Doc.
I went from memory.
Oh, I made a Google Doc.
That is so funny though.
I like when things are organized.
Same.
I like when things are org.
But anyway, you can talk about Eversen for a bit.
I already said what I needed to say about Eversen.
Okay, well, I guess we'll go to 8 then, because we already talked about John.
With John, obviously, like I like him. He was like a great person, and he did play well, like especially at first.
Yeah.
But then once he got clocked, it just kind of like he was defeated, and he just didn't play as hard. It seemed.
Yeah.
I can agree with him. That's why John was so low for me.
Like, yeah, like if they didn't catch on to his game, like, or if they didn't catch on to the Mama Carol thing, he could have been higher. But just because of that reason.
Yeah. And he kind of became a joke after that. Like, it was like, oh, Mama Carol. Like, so, yeah. All right, Mike, get to number 8.
All right, number 8. This is where we go back a bit.
Okay.
Circle revealed number 8. I think this is a really, like, for me, sort of predict shock. Yeah, actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
Number 8.
I just had it
my eighth was Crissa.
Nice.
Okay.
I think so. I will give my commentary on Crissa.
Yes.
I think she had potential.
Yes.
I liked her story a lot. It's just a victim of unfortunate circumstances, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Who is she? No, there's no bottom 2. No.
Yuling is the one that was the in-person blocking.
It was Ling.
And that's when Ling realized
because Alyssa wouldn't budge.
Yeah, Alyssa was very adamant about that. So
yeah.
Yeah. Crissa definitely is someone that I'd like to see come back again because I think she has a lot of potential. I just don't think she recognized it.
I feel like she would be the person to do better on her second choice.
Now, my number 8 is someone we don't have a picture for. I have Eversen at 8. I don't know. Is this where the list stops, Allie? Do you have Eversen at 8?
Actually, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'll give my thoughts on Eversen for a bit.
Oh,
I like
God,
Eversen.
you're lying.
Huh?
You're lying. I don't know.
I like Eversen. I think was a very entertaining presence on this season. I liked his little flirtmance with Amani. I thought that was fun to watch.
That was so funny.
That was hilarious.
The funniest
I
moments.
said that every single time, but like that was one of the funniest moments of the season.
So yeah, but what I really enjoyed about Eversen is that he was someone that wasn't really there to like be super strategic. He really just wanted to have fun, wanted to be himself, wanted to just be a fun cruise director. Like that's who he is. And I think he did that well. My only issue with Eversen is that I just wish we got to see a little bit more of him. I think that he did have a strategic side and we just didn't really get to see it. So I enjoyed Eversen quite a bit. I think that he was a really fun presence. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about him at first when he first came in, but once we got like a full episode with him, I was a fan, and I really liked what he ended up bringing to the season. But he came up short because he came in too late, and I don't think he was able to make those connections.
All right.
So.
My number 8 is actually Jared.
Oh wow! Okay, someone else we don't have a picture for.
It's mainly because I'm like the biggest Spice Girls fan, but like obviously it's mainly just because they were only there for the first round and like because they were just there for a twist.
Second round, you mean?
Well, yeah, like they were technically only there for the first week, just as a twist.
For so, like, second.
If they were there for longer, they'd definitely be higher for me. And like if they were actually part of the game. But just because of that reason, and sadly, which I would love if they were there for longer, but I thought it was still a cool twist. But yeah, just because of that reason, they are kind of low for me.
All right, Mike, let's get to number 7.
Number 7 for me. I'm actually going to call an audible here.
All right.
Because of that point that was just given.
This video is brought to you by Audible. No, it's not.
Oh, no.
No, Audible's an audiobook service.
I know.
I hate to tell you what I know about Audible.
Right?
I don't want to know.
Don't you show me.
I don't want to know.
I know what he's talking about.
We're not gonna talk any further.
That's why I said, "Oh no."
All right, so just to cut things short, we have too much dead air here. I'm calling an audible and changing up my rankings a little bit.
Okay.
So for that reason, this person was originally 3rd for me.
Oh wow. Okay.
This person was originally in my 3rd position because going into the circle, I knew about this and I had my doubts originally.
Yeah.
But when it was confirmed, this person became an instant favorite, or should I say these two people became an instant favorite.
Okay.
But because of the point that was just given, that they were not a real player.
Yeah.
They were part of a twist. This is where I called an audible and switched Jared / Melby and Emma to number 7.
Nice.
Yeah, here's the thing. I also have Jared at number 7, mainly because I feel like they're just very hard to rank, I feel like, overall. But the reason why they're not, lower is because they were, for the brief time we had them, really good at the game. Like, I think that both of them did a good job in fooling people when they could, even when they kept forgetting certain things about who they're supposed to catfish as, that Jared's, a children's book author and things like that. I think they still were really good. And I think
they were.
Had this not been a twist where And I like the fact, let me just reiterate that. Like, I like the fact that they were only there for a limited time, because I think if they were there longer, they would have overshadowed the entire season, and the season, you know, is the Spice Girls season. But for the brief time we had them, I think they were actually pretty good at the game, and I think that if they had stayed longer, I think definitely they could have gotten pretty far. So,
like, if they were actually competing as themselves, I feel like they would be really good.
No, if they were competing as themselves, I would get them out immediately.
Well, they wouldn't know that they were the Spice Girls, so.
Right?
No, I mean, if Velby and Emma played as themselves, I would go for them.
Yeah.
I would be blocking them immediately. I'm not playing a game with a celebrity.
Yeah,
I want that money. If they don't need the money, I'm blocking a celebrity.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason they weren't real players, because they didn't really need the money at the end of the day, unless they do a celebrity circle, which would be cool if they ever did that.
It would be cool, actually.
But yeah, I enjoyed them in the game, even though they weren't real players. I do have them at number 7.
My number 7 is Eversen.
Okay.
Mainly just because, like, obviously at first he was just like this nice social guy, but then he started to like improve his game a little bit, and obviously the Imani Eversen thing was pretty funny, and like started to improve. So, but obviously like he wasn't as good as other people game wise. So like he's kind of just like middle of the pack for me, you know. So yeah, that's why
I won that.
Shut up.
That's why he's number 7, like in the middle.
All right, Mike, number 6.
All right, circle number 6. Another person I liked a lot, and the only reason why this person is actually at 6 is because we didn't get enough of time with him or her, whichever. Number 6 for me. Circle. Reveal Imani / Trevor.
Oh, okay. I do not have that one. So,
for me, I feel like the whole Trevor thing, Imani / Trevor thing. I just think the fact that it's the real Trevor and the fact that Delisa won is him, kind of overshadowed who Trevor is himself. And this again is somebody who could never play as themselves because But mostly this person was likable, played a very well played game, and for someone who went from the last last intruder to runner up like that, well played. Kudos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I, for my number 6, have someone that we can show on here. I put Rachel at.
Hey, me too.
Oh wow. Okay, well we can talk about her a bit. So at first I was not big on Rachel, as you guys know. I just found her to be just not someone that I really gravitated towards. I didn't really feel like she was doing all that much. But as the game went on, I really started to like what she was doing. I think that she had a very interesting strategy in this game, just being straight up with people, being very honest, but then making these strategic moves when she needed to. She was someone who pretty much clocked like all the catfishes except for Imani. She pretty much knew like who was a catfish and who wasn't, and she did a good job with that. I think that she also did a really good job at getting into that alliance with Frank and Ling. I think that definitely helped her out quite a bit. I think that, once she started to get a more handle on the game, I think she ended up being a really big contender to potentially win. I think the only thing that made her come up short is that there were just some people that she did not reach out to as much. And I think that's something that she needed to do a little bit more of. I think with Alyssa as well, like she needed to talk to her a little bit more. I think, people like Alex and things like he considered her his number one. I don't think she felt the same way, but I think overall she played a really solid game. She was definitely like a really different kind of player that we don't normally see. I mean, how often do we see someone like fucking playing the accordion? Like that's not something we normally see, and that was really cool. So yeah,
you can actually play the accordion. Fun fact.
I know. Yeah, I put her at 6 just because, like, at the beginning when I first saw her, she was just kind of there. She wasn't really doing a lot.
Yeah.
She was just kind of like the nice girl who just kind of, like, talked to people, but, like,
Yeah.
didn't really have any, like, strategy or didn't do a shit ton, you know? But, like, later on, she definitely improved her game and very much impressed me later. Like, I did like how straight up she was. And then, like, obviously, like, the John Carroll thing and with the roast. And later on, she really surprised me and just she became like this, just very blunt and everything, and then just played a very under the radar game.
Yeah, for sure. All right, number 5. We're getting down to it, Mike.
1 second. All right, my number 5.
Yes.
Is somebody we haven't mentioned yet.
Yes. Okay.
I'm gonna take this off. Number 5 is someone I think was honestly one of the most entertaining players of the season. I think you're going in the wrong way. So for my number 5, one of the most entertaining players of the season, someone who was really fun to watch, and someone. This is the person who I think Frank should have blocked. It's hard to say any regrets if you're the winner of the game, but I do think this person was the biggest threat to Frank winning despite this. And I will be eating crow because this person didn't even make the top 2. But they got 3rd. Circle reveal you, Ling.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
I think once you see my final top 4, then you'll get it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely talk more about you, Ling, extensively, I think, later on.
Yeah, when we get to what, number 1?
No, we'll see. We'll see where Allie and I have her.
Never, but no.
Yeah. So my number 5 is probably surprising considering that this player was a late addition to the cast. But for me, this player was so good that I had to put him at least somewhere in the top half. I do have Trevor.
I have the same thing.
Oh my God. I do have Trevor at 5. Look, was he a late intruder? Yes, but here's the thing about
How
Trevor.
do you know he had this? Well, hold on. How do you know he had the same thing before he revealed it?
Because she probably knew where I was leaning towards.
Because you said late addition.
Yeah. My thing with Trevor that puts him above other late intruders is that most of the time, and I know, Mike, you haven't seen the other seasons, most of the time when they have late intruders come to the game, they have no shot because the connections have been made, the bonds have already been formed, and they just aren't able to really like squeak in there in the way that they want to. And if they do, they end up coming up short because of it. Basically what ended up happening basically with Trevor, I think, is that, you know, what he did so well is that because he played Amani, he was able to get in there. He was able to make some really solid bonds to the point where you had Rachel, who eventually considered, Amani like one of her number ones. You had he was really tight with Ling. He had the whole thing with Eversen. I think if the game went a couple more rounds, I think Trevor could have potentially won the game. I think that, it's no coincidence that he is the husband of Delisa because Delisa's really fucking good at the game and he's just as good. Yeah, we weren't given as much time to see him, but the time that we got, I was really impressed by what he was able to do. Not a single person thought that he was a catfish in the game. And you cannot say that about the other catfishes this season. So for me, Trevor's number 5. I think he did an excellent job with what he did.
Oh yeah, I rated him 5 just because he was the late addition. Like, he did super well.
Oh yeah.
Like, obviously, like you said, nobody suspected that he was a catfish. But mainly it's just because, like, he was a late addition. He isn't as high for me. But I do really love him, and like him and Delisa are just gold. And Trevor is just so fun. He's so funny, and he's just a natural.
You know who Trevor actually reminded me of in a little bit, honestly?
Who?
Tyshawn from BB Can 9.
Oh, yeah.
Trevor gave me Tyshawn vibes big time. And that's a really good thing. Like, Tyshawn was one of my favorite players from BB Can.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely lots of good stuff to say about Trevor. Mike, let's go to your number 4.
Hang on, I'm trying to land an airplane really quick. Grand Theft Auto here.
Can you pretend the airplanes of night stars?
Skies. Airplanes in the night stars.
Like shooting skies.
All right, number 4 might be one of the best players of the season, actually.
Yes.
Well, no shit. They won. Not Circle reveal Frank. Frank had the story. Frank had the power. Frank had this game on a grip. There was no beating Frank. As much as I have my other favorites that I wanted to win, there was no beating Frank, and kudos to Frank for playing that fantastic game. Frank did the damn thing. Point blank, end of discussion, period.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So my number 4 is someone that I think is a little bit higher on Mike's list for sure. But someone that I was definitely a big fan of. I wasn't sure how well he was going to do, but he ended up doing a lot better than I thought. I do have Alex at 4 here. Look, my thing with Alex is that I think he did play a really strong game. He walks away. I think
Rock away.
Roxroy.
No, he's not from there. He walks away, I think, as the villain of the season. And I think he definitely did deserve that title. He was very strategic, way more than most of the players within the game. The whole thing with him and Ling was so much fun to watch, especially just like how repulsed he was by like the majority of it. And like how awkward it was for him. I thought that was just really fun to watch. And just in general, I think Alex did a lot better than I thought he would. And I will always go back to this. The moment where Brew asked him that golfing question, you know, now you laugh, but he could have fumbled that really bad, and that could have been a game-ending move for Alex. But the fact that he was able to answer it as well as he did, and this got Brew on his side, and nobody was really clocking after that until the paintings came out and things like that. You know, that was a really impressive move. After that, I was like, oh my God, I think Alex is like one of the best catfishes to play this game. And I do still stick by that. Yeah, definitely he got clocked towards the end, but it's not really his doing. It's more, you know, people were starting to catch on a little more. I think that his only real flaw is that what he basically said, like he was a little too strategic. He didn't put in that social work as much as he needed to. But I think for what he did a really great job. And I was very impressed by Alex's game. So he's at number 4 for me. Allie, who's at number 4 for you?
Number 4 for me is Frank.
Okay.
I love him. He had that edit and he was just so positive. He was social. He was strategic. He was like everything. He was amazing. But basically, well, I don't know. I just these final 4 is just really tough for me.
Yeah, it is.
Like so I'm like, well. It was kind of like a mix of who I love more, but also like game wise too. I just thought like his game was great and one of the best games of the season, but I don't think he's my number 1 or anything.
Gotcha. All right, Mike, number 4. Number 3 for you.
Number 3. So here's what I'm thinking for number 3. This person was, I want to say, the most robbed player of the entire season. I do honestly think that if this person is not blocked where they were, I do honestly think they go really far, if not to the end of the game. So, circle, reveal, Alyssa.
There, we revealed her.
Okay, she's never making it to the end of the games. No.
Wow.
You can talk about Alyssa.
I did. Give the intro.
Okay.
Sir.
My number 3 is for me actually the winner of the entire season. It's Frank. And look, Frank was one of my favorites from pretty much the onset of the game. I remember I said that like I think Frank is going to be, one of the true contenders to win. And I think with Frank, like again, he played such a different kind of game than we usually see. He was authentically himself. He just kind of like, did what he could to be as to bring as much of himself as he could to the game. He did have that strategic side of him, which people didn't see. And when people tried to say, oh, this is all an act, he's not as nice, nobody really believed it. He was in such a tight 3 with you, Ling and Rachel. There was just no getting rid of Frank in this game. And I think he had such a pulse the entire time. He was just so lovable to watch. He had such a great winner at it, especially with all he's been through. So definitely Frank at number 3 for me.
All right. And my number 3 is...
Oops. Why am I zooming in so much? Okay.
My number 3 is Nathan as an Alex.
All right.
Love him a lot. Like,
yes,
he's definitely one of the best strategists of the season.
Oh, for sure.
So like, this like top 4 is, like I said, is super hard. But yeah, he was just, his strategy was incredible, and like he was so close to that finale. If I mean, Frank obviously made a smart decision, but like he could have just like picked him because maybe he thought he deserved it more. Who knows? But it was so sad to see him get eliminated so close.
I know.
Because he was just incredible and hilarious.
Yeah, he was. All right. Number 2, Mike. Getting down to it. Mike, number 2.
What? All right, my number 2. We talked about her before. This is someone who I, going into the finale, thought would be the winner. Was hoping would be the winner. This person was my honestly my second favorite going in right with it. Not counting Jared per se. Circle, reveal Rachel.
All right. My number 2 the top 2 should not be a shock. I feel like it's pretty obvious at this point who.
Hold on. To go in a little bit more with Rachel, because I know you both already ranked her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I recognized Rachel very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Not as quickly as my number 1, but I do know who Rachel is, and I did know who Rachel was before the season.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm a Smosh viewer. I watch Smosh all the time, and I recognize her from Smosh.
Okay.
Rachel either still works for Smosh or used to work for Smosh.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I actually sent you both a clip of her in a Try Not to Laugh video on Snapchat.
Oh, shit.
She was, I think, only in one of them because she's part of the crew, like the behind-the-scenes crew. She's a director. But her bit was she recreated the Unholy Trinity intro from Glee.
Oh my god!
And butchered it like on purpose, which got almost the entire Smosh cast to laugh except for one person.
Oh my god!
Then she came back out with the accordion and got that last person.
That's so good.
That's
so
iconic.
Rachel is iconic in and out of the game, and I hope she's still with Smosh. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's pretty funny.
That.
That's so good. This is news to me. Holy shit!
I've been saying it right along.
Damn. All right. So Rachel at number 2. Like I said, I think Allie and I have the same 2 and 1 at this point because we haven't mentioned either of these 2 people. I feel like it's pretty obvious who our 2 and 1 are because just of how much we've been praising these 2 all season. For me, number 2 This is the person that, if Frank didn't win, I thought was going to win the game. I thought that she was in a really strong position. I think the game that she played is honestly very underrated. I don't see a lot of people giving her as much credit strategically as they should. I have Ling at 2. Ling, for me, starts off the game extremely likable, someone you immediately find yourself gravitating towards because she's such a fun character in that way. Has, a lot of really, nice tender moments with everyone, but also has a really good strategic game. Ling starts out in this, great trio with Alyssa and Brew, known as a happy throuple. She intends for this to be like her main alliance, and then realizes this doesn't benefit me. I'm just being manipulated in this alliance. I'm not being seen as an equal. Where am I being seen as an equal? An alliance with Frank and Rachel. And she makes that move, and it puts her in a much better position, I think, because Frank, throughout the rest of the game, views Ling as his number one. It's not like Alyssa didn't, but this was a group in which she had a lot more agency. She was able to make a lot more strategic decisions, and I think in general, that's what really did help Ling. I know that move she made was very controversial, but I think it was a really great move, and I think it's the move that definitely got her that much farther in the game. And even with that, she's still able to repair things with Brew. She's able to still be this very likable presence. When John tries to call her out, nobody seems to take it seriously because John's like the social pariah of the house at that time. Just big fan of Ling all around. I think that she was just such a fun presence to watch throughout the entire season. Someone I rooted for more and more every single episode. And by the time we got to the end, I was like, she could win. She absolutely could win. She didn't. She came up a little short, but I was a big fan of her throughout the entire game. So Ling at 2.
All right. My number 2 is actually Ling as well.
Yes.
Color me shocked.
We have a lot of the same, even though we did not do this together.
Yeah.
I just well have.
But yeah, I adored her since since the start of the season. I just thought she was so fun, a very fun presence, very likable, and I'm like, I can see this girl going super far, or possibly being screwed over, or just cut short. But yeah, I definitely saw her as just being that social and strategic girl that everyone just loves and doesn't want to go for it most of the time. And then all her moves, she was very balls to the wall, and she was she was the person that could really be cutthroat and just cut whoever and to just cut anyone to win. And I just really liked that. I respected her game a lot, and I adore her so much.
All right. So, I'm really not sure who Mike is going to pick for number 1 here. It's very, very hard to tell, I got to say. But should go with that.
All right. Circle revealed Nathan/Alex.
Oh, really? I thought.
Reveal my good friend, the one and only Alex Brizard.
Yes.
Like I said, this reveal is what really sparked my interest in the circle. Throughout the past few seasons, I considered it because I played Banishment. I played Circle Banishment, and I played another Circle game prior to that. And I thought they were fun. I thought it was a cool concept, especially for an org/mini kind of thing. To see someone whom I had known prior to any reality TV show, I guess directly, has really, like I said, been a surreal experience. And Alex really played so freaking well. Played a phenomenal villain game. Made a lot of strategic moves, played the game very strategically, and like previously mentioned, had a strategy like no other. And for that, this is why Nathan/Alex are my number 1 pick.
Yes.
At the end of the season.
All right. My number one's Alyssa. I feel like it was obvious. Alyssa was someone that immediately when she came in, I was just so impressed by her game. And here's the thing. You can say, oh, Alyssa and Alex had the same type of strategy, but here's what I think Alyssa did better than Alex is that Alyssa had the perfect combination of social and strategic. She was strategic in a way where people didn't realize everything that she was doing, taking copious amounts of notes on like everything, really trying to, see where everyone is, always put herself in the best possible position, but she was also really good socially. For a while, there was nobody who didn't feel good with Alyssa. Everyone considered her, one of their number ones. And I think had she had gotten out of that situation with the antivirus, there's no way she doesn't make it to the end. I think she definitely had a pretty clear path to the end. Now, I think the end game goes a lot differently with Alyssa there, but I think she gets to the end and probably ends up winning the game. The way that she ended up running the game for the majority of it, I think she just did such an amazing job with. The Happy Throuple was an alliance that for a while was quite dominant. I think that she was in just a really strong position throughout the entire game. I also really liked, and I said this, I thought it was very refreshing to see someone come in the game who knew that there were catfishes but didn't really care because it benefited her. She kept John around because John was never going to turn on her. She didn't really care who was a catfish and who wasn't. She cared about what she needed to do to get farther in the game. And that's what impressed me about Alyssa. I loved how cutthroat she was, but I also loved how genuine she was throughout the entire game. She was very much not a game bot. She was very personable. She was someone that I found more rootable every single episode. And it got to a point where I really thought she was going to win the game. It was devastating to see her go. But I do think they ultimately made the right move because of what ended up happening. I don't think Bru made the right move, but I do think that it made sense for her to go when it did because I think she absolutely could have won the game. Alyssa's just one of the best players I've ever seen within the circle, so she's number one.
Oh, yeah. She's my number one as well because, when I first, saw the first few people, preseason and at the start, I'm like, okay, I don't know how well she's going to do. Yeah. But then I found her super fascinating and her job and her passion for her job and everything is just so sweet and wholesome. And I just think I love that a lot. And her strategy is the best strategy of the game. And
disagree.
Her notes and
I still think best strategy goes to Nathan Alex.
But yeah, and I mean he was amazing too. But I was so impressed with her strategy,
I don't agree with Alyssa being the best strategist.
And her,
okay, well, we're gonna let Alyssa talk about Alyssa.
And her meetup with the Spice Girls was just one of my favorite moments of the season, just because Alyssa became my number one favorite, and then she was meeting people that I grew up with that I really looked up to, especially Baby Spice. I loved that meetup. It was so wholesome and just so amazing and just wonderful to see. And she was so smart. She was so strategic. She was social, and everyone just loved her and wanted to work with her. Obviously, Bru made that decision, which obviously it was a smart move, but for him, like we said, he would have had more longevity with her than with John, because John was literally leaving next anyway. But with Alyssa, if they both stayed, they possibly both could have made it to the end, or at least
I don't think
really
Bru makes it to the end,
or at least really close. Maybe not to the end, but
no. I low key kind of think Bru might have been next if Alyssa stays.
I don't think so.
But
what do you think would have gone then?
John
leaves in safety chain though.
I don't know,
between John and
maybe Eversen.
Probably Eversen or Nathan.
I don't think so.
But anyway, if Alyssa survived that safety chain, she definitely would have made it to the end. Because I was at the beginning, I'm okay, yeah, Frank or Alyssa definitely have the winner edits. I could see them winning. And they were the main winner edits right from go. And then I was like kind of sad when she left, but also I was like, okay, good move on them. Good move, of course. But it was just so heartbreaking to see because she was one of the best players the Circle ever had.
Yes, for sure. All right. And with that, those are our rankings for the Circle. This was definitely a lot of fun to do. Before we do close things out, though, because we are going to wrap this up here. This went a lot longer than I thought it would. We are going to wrap things up here, though, and say that, like I said, this will be the last conversation with Kely on my channel. Moving forward, if you want to continue following conversation with Kely, it's going to be on its own separate channel. The main reason for that, we've talked about this before, but the main reason we're doing that is because, you know, we want to have a solid following. We want our podcast to be one that flourishes. And when it's on a channel that mainly consists of like TV and movie reviews from me, it just feels like there's there's a clash of ideas going on. And I don't think that keeping them on the same channel is going to benefit our podcast. I think moving it over to its own separate channel and that being the hub for a conversation with Kely, I think that's the way to go moving forward. So if you like our podcast and things like that, that is where you will find us. Before we do,
we'll definitely both of us and also the Kely account will tweet the links so you can follow the new channel and we'll post it everywhere and give all the recognition.
Yeah, we also might give a bit of a facelift to our graphics. Our good friend Sean Dyro said that they might send us some updated graphics, so we're excited to see how that turns out.
So basically, stay tuned every Monday at 8 Eastern.
Yeah, the Circle and Survivor are now over, so we're on a bit of an off season now, but we have some things planned that we're going to be doing, so definitely look forward to that. But before we do transition to our new channel, we do got to wrap this up. So before we do that, Mike, go ahead. We're going to let you do your outro. So go ahead.
Why would you ever give me such a platform?
I don't know.
Wonderpuff Games, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, not Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, other things if Wonderpuff is taken. TikTok is Wonderpuff. I don't really post on there. I do other stuff sometimes.
Yeah. All right. And with that, that's it for the end of the Circle season 4. This was a fantastic season to cover, especially after last season. I feel like this was a season we need to fully restore our faith within the Circle overall. I'm very happy that we were able to do this. I'm happy that Mike was able to come on every single week and watch the show, you know, along with us.
Represent for the homie.
Yes, of course. And as always, you know, comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought of this season of the Circle, what you think of this finale, your rankings, all that stuff. That's over this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in our next video on a new channel, and we will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.